At least when it comes to this early quarter of the year, mutable signs have it best. And that's especially true for you, Gemini. Spring is the season of new beginnings and getting a head start on the year, and you're sure to have more than enough opportunities for advancement this month. With Jupiter transiting through your 10th house for the next little while, your career life has been steadily growing, and this April, this good fortune might just peak, but we'll get more in-depth on that later. Before we celebrate promotions and recognition, we have to tackle that new moon happening on the 1st of the month right on your 11th house of friends, hopes and supporters. This lunation has to be one of the most exciting ones of the year since Mercury, the ruler of the sign, shares some of the lunar spotlights. This can suggest quite a social cycle ahead, and with the business tones of this month, a lot of these interactions are likely related to work or some sort of project in a way. When it comes to your career, the 11th house represents the people who help you acquire the resources needed to accomplish the goals you've set for yourself. Don't be afraid to be social or to follow the lead of those who seem to know what they're doing already. If you tend to struggle with pride from time to time, this April will be the time to drop it, as this lunation implies success coming from being led, not for leading. Moving further down the month, we have the Saturn and Mars conjunction happening in your 9th house. This might pose some bad news for anyone who might be going on a trip around the 4th. Especially if you're going overseas or doing some major bucket list type of exploration, you may want to reschedule or at least tread it carefully. The Saturn-Mars combo can be pretty daunting and causes chaotic mishaps. For those not going on a trip, the 9th house also represents education and higher learning. In that case, if you're going to school or work in any research-adjacent fields, you may want to back up all your files or try to study just a little harder for any possible upcoming exam. You don't want to be caught by surprise with this one. On a lighter note, just as Mars and Saturn start to do their dance, Venus will go on to join Jupiter in your 10th house. This ingress serves as a major counterbalance to the challenging transit mentioned above. Your 10th place is much more active in your chart too, so it's more likely the spring blessings will be noticeable over the challenges. Since the 10th house deals with career and reputation, it could even be the case that you get recognized for overcoming the challenges related to the 9th house, challenging trips, school projects, teaching, or researching. Though, it's important to keep in mind that the peak of good luck this transit can bring only really happens at the very end of the month on April 30th. In which case, if things get really challenging, know that at least by the end of the month, those challenges will turn into opportunities. Speaking of opportunities, the full moon of the month is also quite auspicious. The second lunation happens in Gemini's 5th house, and it's ruled by Venus herself. The 5th place is the home of joy, creativity and excitement, so that's quite a good house to have the moon shining brightly upon. Don't be surprised if you have any work parties around the 16th. It may even seem a bit unusual for your work life to get so vibrant all of a sudden. Conversely, the 5th house is also the place for children. While this is a more specific manifestation of this transit, if you work as a teacher or you work with younger people in general, there's a perfect chance that the source of the success mentioned earlier could come from projects done in collaboration with children or aimed at that demographic. In case you've been thinking of starting a project like this and were unsure if it will pan out, you can take this as a positive sign. Closing up the month, we have your ruling planet on a trine with Pluto in your 8th house. While this is a positive transit, it's happening in the more challenging houses of your chart. The 8th and 12th houses deal with loss, sadness and uncomfortable experiences. Given this is a trine and it happens right before Pluto goes retrograde, this transit happening on the 28th could clarify older difficult experiences. Maybe you'll finally see how a shortcoming actually led you to transform into something better. Perhaps it will even inspire you to help people who went through that same experience. Either way, even if this transit might have a somber undertone, it's here to spark new ideas. Good luck, Gemini.